What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Diesel Creek. My name's Matt. This beautiful green behemoth right next to me here is my M35A2 Army truck, also known as a deuce and a half. This is the second video on this truck. If you haven't seen the first one, the link's down in the description. You're going to want to head out there and check that out first if you haven't seen that. That way you get caught up to speed and you know where we're at. But basically, quick and dirty, if you're not going to listen to me and go back and watch that one, I bought this truck for $3,000 from a subscriber of the channel that was making a big move and couldn't take it with him. So the truck was not running. He didn't know what was wrong with it. I sure didn't know what was wrong with it. I drug it up on my trailer. I brought it 2.5 hours home here and sat on it for a couple months. And when I finally got to it, I found that basically it was just run out of fuel. And that's the reason it wouldn't run at all, or at least part of the reason. So we were able to get the truck running once I put fuel in it and primed the system, but it definitely isn't running correctly. It's stumbling, it's not idling, it's not starting well. So by the end of the last video, I was coming to the conclusion that there could be something wrong with the fuel shutoff mechanism of the fuel injection pump, which is a common issue with these trucks. So we're going to start into that thing today, and hopefully that's our issue because it's a pretty easy fix if that's the case. And basically, if that's fixed, we're going to do some other TLC on this thing, maybe go through the brake system, make sure it's ready for the road, and then hopefully get to take it for a drive. But I know the way this stuff unfolds on this channel, we're going to run into 20 other problems between here and there. So might as well get into it. Oh, if you guys would, do me a big favor before we get too far into this video. These videos get hundreds of thousands of views every time I post them, yet only the tiniest percentage of you guys bother to hit that like button. I know you guys like the videos or you wouldn't come back here to watch them every time, so if you would, take the half a second for me, hit that thumbs up button. Doesn't cost you guys nothing and it really helps me out. Thanks. So this truck's about 22 feet long. I made a comment in the last video that the deuce and a half was actually about the same size as a full-size pickup truck. And a couple people took issue with that in the comments. So I'm here to prove to you that it's about the same length. 22 feet. The trucks are the exact same length. The major difference being my pickup truck could make a turn inside of the turning radius of this truck. Enough squabbling. Let's get this thing opened up here. Well, normally I think that would give you pretty good access to the plunger that we need to work on today, but because we have this optional heater box in the way, we still don't have the best access here. So right down in here is our injection pump, but we need to work on the little teeny module that's sticking off the side there where that cable runs in at. I was hoping I could get that inner fender off of there, but I believe it's welded on actually. So, gotta get these couple flathead screws out with a ratchet, I guess. Well, there's number 2, and I dropped it. Son of a diddly. I don't know, this plunger seems to be moving pretty freely. I don't think that's really our problem there. I don't know if you guys can see on the angle here, but this is the arm that little thing controls, and it seems to be moving pretty freely as well. All right, so down on the side of the pump, behind this cover we just removed, we have a fuel shutoff lever. I guess it seems to be a common problem with these units that this lever will get stuck in the center position, like a 6 o'clock position. And for a startup, it should be at a 7 o'clock position. So I checked that lever, and the best I can tell, it looks like it's at the correct position at 7 o'clock. So I don't think that's our issue. So I'm going to put this thing back together. I don't think we have any issues in the shutoff department, unfortunately, because that would have been a pretty easy fix, I think. But the next simplest thing we're going to do, we're going to just do all the fuel filters. The guy I bought it from said that they were changed, but there's a fuel filter underneath the alternator that I think a lot of people miss. So we're going to change that one out for sure, and probably just grab all three while we're at it and slap new ones in it. When you're working with a diesel, changing the fuel filters is always a good idea. So another thing we're going to do in this video that completely slipped my mind in the last video for some reason is check the air cleaner. I don't think that there's any way that rodents can get into this air cleaner, but if rodents or just dirt packs up your air cleaner and it's choking off air to the engine, well, that's going to give you a hard start condition as well as all the other symptoms that we are having with this truck. So let's pop this thing off of here. Oh, I can see a glimpse of the air filter now, and I don't think it's our problem. She looks brand new. Yeah. 100%. This thing probably never even been driven with this air filter. I mean, it is spotless. So that's not the problem. All right, so I'm trying to take down the primary fuel filter, and man, it is just a dandy to get to. Like, it doesn't look like it would be hard to get to at all, actually. But I'm telling you, I've been about ready to scream because the wrench just won't fit on there. I mean, it fits, but then you run into these bolts that hold the actual housing up onto the mounting plate. So now that it's broken loose, it's not so bad, but there's a tense couple of minutes there. Apparently this bolt has about 38 miles of thread on it too. There we go. Got us a ringer, hole in one. All right, let's have a gander at this thing. Well, at very first glance here, it doesn't look bad. A little bit of junk at the bottom of the housing, if you guys can see that, but nothing too bad. Oh, our bucket has a hole in it somewhere. Dang it. It's always something. No, I don't know. I really don't see anything super obviously dirty with the filter, but we're going to go ahead and get it replaced. And get some pig mats to soak up this fuel that I just spilt all over my tailgate. Alright, so I ended up pulling off all the filters here. These two are your secondary filters, and one of them has the modern Napa filter in it, like I picked up to replace this. And the other one is the old school. I guess that's the Army one. Neither one of them look incredibly dirty. They both look pretty good. The housings, on the other hand, hopefully you can see they got some dirt and some rust and stuff down in them. So we're gonna have to clean those up a bit, but nothing too awful bad. No smoking gun. Now the problem I'm running into, so this is our primary fuel filter housing. This is that one that we pulled off there a minute ago. And this is the size of filter that came out of it, which is fine. It works. But this 3511 is what's supposed to go in it. Now, there's nothing inside of this housing that holds that filter up there. And even the filter that came out of it wasn't supported by anything. There was a small spring at the bottom underneath the filter, but it wasn't contacting the bottom of the filter. So the way these filters are designed, there's supposed to be like a cap kind of that the filter sits on down inside the housing, and that prevents the fuel from just going straight through the filter and around it. So basically, the filter that was in here, the way it was installed, wasn't doing anything. It was just bypassing the filter, not being filtered at all. That's not that huge of a deal because, like I say, we have the 2 secondary filters up there on the side of the engine that would catch anything. But I'm gonna have to figure something out on this primary filter and get something working in there, because you know it's got 3 filters for a reason, so we don't want to be shortchanging ourselves. All right, so I came up with a solution for our filter here. I've got the filter, I've got some washers, and this big spring here which will keep tension on the filter. But that big fender washer down there is what seals up on the cork gasket here. So it'll actually force fuel through this filter. Before, this filter wasn't doing anything. All right, I just got the fuel filters reinstalled. Not much to that, so I didn't bother to record it. Let's hit the switch and bleed these things out. Well, it took a minute, but we finally got some fuel out of this thing, and of course, yep, I can feel it now. I pinched the gasket when I tightened this one up. So I got to back that filter back off, and hopefully I can fix that gasket. If not, I have an extra here I can put in it. Oh, so any leaks? Nah, we still got a leak. Dang it. I was hoping not to have to do that. I'm gonna have to drop the filter and change that gasket out. Yep. Yeah. Pinched it. I pinched it and cut it, apparently. All right, so it is supposed to rain all day, and it's just starting to sprinkle now. I'm sure you probably can't tell on camera. But the fuel filter situation. As you guys saw there, we had a leak on the filter. I tried to put a new O-ring, a new gasket on the canister and reinstall that fuel filter to no avail. I spent probably 2 or 3 hours trying to get a new gasket inside of that housing and reinstall the filter, and I can't make it happen. So I pushed it in here where I can actually work on the thing. I'm not laying in mud and everything else and being miserable. The shop is not yet completed, but we can still use it for right now. I'm not going to be in the electrician's way or anything like that. So yeah, let's get into this thing. All right, so right here is where our fuel canister setup was. I ended up pulling it off of there because there was just no way I could get this O-ring into this groove. Now that I have it off of here, you guys can actually see what's going on. The O-ring that comes with the filter, it is like one size too small, basically. You need to stretch it almost an inch to get it into that groove the whole way around there. So stretching it upside down in the dark by feel, tough enough. And then on top of that, it doesn't just press into the groove like a normal O-ring would. You got to really press it in there with a tool. And doing all that upside down in the dark by feel, it's just not feasible on the truck, I don't think. Maybe if I had some help. But see, that right there is started into the groove, but it really isn't in there all the way yet. I mean, you got to really push it in there. You see how far it is down there. That's what it needs to be like all the way around here. So easier said than done on the truck. Try to smear this O-ring up with some grease. Try to help our cause here. Because man, this is difficult to get this in here. I know it probably seems like I'm making a mountain out of a molehill, but this is a job. There we go, that's the ticket right there. Look at that. Winds up too long when we do it that way. I think that's as good as I can get this thing. What I'm hoping I can do is take the canister now and set it on there and kind of rotate it around so that I'm contacting all this thing at the same time and try to run that down in better, because man, I can't get it all jammed in there now. It was too small, and then when you start shoving it in the hole, now it's too big. So well, if I do it like this on the fender here, I should have no excuses for getting anything misaligned. I can see really well. I'll put another gasket on this nut, and we'll be set. Man, what a chore. Talk about something that was way harder than it needed to be. The first time I start something up in the new shop. Ah! She's a little smoky. What do you guys think a good nickname for this truck would be? I think Greta. We might have to call this one Greta. But basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to dump a bunch of automatic transmission fluid in the fuel tank and just let this thing run a while. And hopefully it clears some of that smoke up and clears out the fuel system, because I think that's all we're really fighting here, is just a gummed up nasty fuel system. And if you don't know, ATF does wonders for that. Alright, so I'm looking in the fuel tank. There's a little bit of dirt on the bottom, but the fuel looks pretty clean. Nothing to really write home about in there. Any vehicle this old is bound to have a little bit of dirt in the fuel tank. Like I said, this here is just automatic transmission fluid. We're gonna put a gallon or so of this in, maybe a little more, and then some fresh fuel, and we're just gonna let this baby idle for a little while. And then we might take it for some rips. Try really feeding her the beans and see if that doesn't help clear up our fuel issue here. I'd say that was probably a gallon and a half or so. Well, the automatic transmission fluid seems to really be helping our case here. That's one lap up the driveway, and man, it already sounds a lot better. It's actually idling right now, not loping all over the place. Smoke's clearing up a little bit. I think she just needs run, and I'm obliged to run it. I definitely wouldn't say it's perfectly fixed yet, but it's definitely running better. That automatic transmission fluid seems to be helping out. I ran it up and down the driveway probably 7-8 times, but really there's only so much running up and down the driveway a fella can stand to do. We better get the brakes fixed on this thing, and then we're gonna take it out on the actual road and be able to really wind it out, and I think just running it is probably gonna end up fixing it. At least that's what I'm hoping for. Nice easy fix, so fingers crossed. Now the brakes on these trucks are an air over hydraulic system, and that's why you can get away with driving these things without a CDL in most states, or I think in all states. I'm not sure about that, but anyways, the brake master cylinder is so conveniently located right here underneath the driver's floorboard. I don't know if you can see down through that hole or not. That is the brake reservoir cap we're looking at right there. Now I've already taken the liberty of disconnecting the vent line that comes off the top, and let me tell you, that was a fun job. Let's pop that reservoir top off right now and see what we can't see down inside of there. I already broke it loose, so I'm hoping we can just pull it right out here. I'm actually looking through your guys. I'm actually looking through the camera trying to see if I can see anything in there. It doesn't look like there's anything in there, so that could definitely be part of our issue. As luck would have it, the fella I picked this truck off of was super generous, and he included a pile of spare parts that he had acquired over the time he owned this truck. One of those things were 3 gallons of silicone brake fluid, which is actually the military B spec. It's the stuff that we need. And I love this bottle of brake fluid for one reason. It was made and tested before I was born. So she's just been fermenting in a box somewhere waiting for this day. All right, I got me a funnel wedged in here. I'm gonna just fill up this reservoir and then we can go start the bleeding process, hopefully. Okay, so we're under the truck here. This is the master cylinder reservoir up there for the hydraulic fluid. So you can't see it, but right up on top of there is where we just poured the fluid through that hole in the floorboard. And this is where your brake pedal actually pushes the plunger and pushes the fluid down here. This unit right here is the brake booster pack. Air lines come in here, and I guess it basically pushes on it again and pushes the fluid back to the wheels. So it's basically a hydraulic brake system that is air assisted. This line right here comes down from the reservoir up there, so we have to crack open that bleeder there. Once we get fluid flowing cleanly there, Then we can start working our way back to the wheels. All right, looks like we got good fluid flowing out of there now. Should have dug out some rubber gloves for this. I hate messing with brake fluid. All right, well, here we are at the back of the truck now. We are ready to bleed some brakes. Now, if you don't know, on a hydraulic brake system, you always want to start with the wheel cylinder furthest from the master cylinder first. Just helps you ensure that you're really purging all the air out of the system as you go. So we're going to start with the passenger side rear here, and then we'll move to the driver's side rear. Then we'll jump up to the intermediate axle, bleed those out the same way, and then move to the front. All right, so we already got some fluid coming here, which is a good sign. I'm going to try and use a vacuum bleeder on this. I watched a video online. I'm blanking on the guy's name right now, unfortunately. But, yeah, can you see all the air bubbles coming out? Anyway, the guy I'm talking about, he used a garden sprayer and actually pushed the fluid from the master cylinder, which I could also see being functional, but alright, we're on to wheel cylinder number 3 now. I think I might have lost audio back there, but I like to pump up a little pressure beforehand. Crack the bleeder loose. As long as the gauge is going down, that means you're drawing something. Right now it's just air. There, we got some fluid coming now. All right, we're on the 5th wheel cylinder now. A lot of air, but there we go. Alright, well, I'm under here, just finished up bleeding the brakes all the way, and both of these rubber boots on the steering knuckles here, they're pretty oily. So I'm going to guess that we have axle seals up here that need replacing. It doesn't feel like brake fluid to me, it just feels like gear oil. So yeah, I'm sure as we work on the brakes here, we're going to figure out where all the brake fluid's going. It's got to be going somewhere. All right, well, I just shimmied out from underneath the truck there. We have all the wheels bled, theoretically, so we'll go ahead and fire that thing up and really see if we got any ether. So rather than sit here and crank it for 20 minutes, I'm just going to go ahead and give her some of the business. Guys ready? Contact. moment of truth here. No, not much pedal at all. Slightly more than before, I guess. It does seem to be pumping up a little bit, but I don't think that's not a very good pedal at all. All right, it has a little teeny bit of pedal, definitely better than it was, but still not great. So I guess I'm gonna have to try to do the old garden sprayer routine that I saw on. Oh, here's a disappointing ending to a video. Me and my buddy here bled the brakes out on it a little bit better with the old two-man job, you know, pump the pedal and crack the bleeder and shut the bleeder, you know, all that deal. And we got brakes, so we decided, heck yeah, let's take this thing for a spin. And we drove, I don't know, 2-3 miles, stopped at the end of the road, talked to the neighbor, jumped back in it, drive back down the road, and got about halfway back to the farm, and all of a sudden just brr, losing power, slowing down. So I said, that doesn't sound good. It was running good before. It was actually improving on the way out the road, but then it started sounding real bad, and then it shut clean off, and now the engine is locked up. So I don't know, we had good oil pressure. We had, you know, we weren't running hot or anything. Just right over 180, which should not be harmful at all to the engine. But yeah, she's no longer running, so that's something. And I think we just figured out where the brake fluid's going. That's the passenger side on the intermediate axle there, and there is a nice puddle of brake fluid there, so we got to replace that master cylinder. Let's check out any of the other ones. Looks like both wheel cylinders on the intermediate axles need replaced, but the rear ones look to be good. The guy did give me 2 wheel cylinders with this thing, so at least I don't have to go scrounge those up. I guess we should probably concern ourselves about the engine more than the brakes at this point, though, huh? Yeah, both the front wheels still look okay. Like I said, I think those are just axle seals, the reason those are wet. Well, we've been sitting here waiting on a tow for about 15 minutes. And I just decided, since it's cooled down, to go ahead and try it again. We're back to green flag racing, so we're gonna hurry up and get this thing home. Showing we are a little over temp now, not much. I think we're rated 200. We're gonna take it easy all the way back. Well, we made her back to the farm. This thing's going right back in the shop. Something is obviously wrong. Okay, so what did we learn here? Well, a couple things. We learned that deuce-and-a-half fuel filters are quite a pain to change. We learned that deuce-and-a-half brakes are quite a pain to bleed. And we have also learned that there is quite a bit of work left to do before we can get this thing back on the road. So typically I like to have a good beginning, middle, and end to a video and show a fair amount of progress in a video. Now, in this case here today, I don't feel like we really accomplished that much, but we did open up another can of worms, I guess, if you will. I'm definitely gonna have to do some hard digging into this engine. I'm thinking about pulling the injectors out and running a compression test on the engine because I'm starting to suspect that we may have some bigger issues. It doesn't like to start easy, which is a sign of low compression, and it never really clears up from smoking even after it's good and hot. So There could be something majorly wrong in the engine. I don't think, but there could be. So it's worth investigating, especially after the thing locked up on me in the middle of the road there. So we've got that to contend with. I think we need to replace this radiator, and we have to replace at least one wheel cylinder. I have two, so I'll probably do both on the intermediate axle. Yeah, I think there was both of them on the intermediate axle are leaking, so we'll have to change those out in the next video as well. And bleed the brake system back out again. That was a joy. I can't wait to do it once more. But I'm glad we have the roof over our heads and the concrete under our feet now to be doing it a little bit easier. I've had a lot of people commenting lately that they're sick of shop building videos and that they want to get back to the regular content that you've become accustomed to on this channel, and I'm all for it, but the fact is I got to get this shop wrapped up, and the shop is enabling me to even have this conversation with you right now because it's pouring down rain, so if it wasn't for the building, we wouldn't be doing this right now. I do have a couple of announcements. If you guys want to help support the channel, going on over to dieselcreek.com. Right now we've got your St. Patrick's Day shirts going on over there. You've got some limited edition St. Patrick's Day shirts over in the store, and we are also working on several other new products to get over there at the store. So you guys can be coming into spring with some fresh new Diesel Creek merch. If you haven't been over to the store, dieselcreek.com. The link is down in the description. Now the last thing I have to tell you is that I'm going to be in Las Vegas on March 15th for Con Expo. If you guys want to come out, shake hands and say hi, I'm going to be at the Volvo booth from 3:30 to 4:30. Me and a bunch of other YouTubers you know, Let's Dig 18, Mike from Dirt Perfect, Jay Pay Dirt, the whole laundry list of them is all on the community tab or my Instagram page. You go over there and check that out. So if you guys can make it to the show, awesome. I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure I'm going to meet a lot of awesome subscribers there, and you could be one of them. So that's March 15th at the Volvo booth, Con Expo. Be there or be square. But that's all I got for you right now. So if you like the video, do me the big favor, hit that thumbs up button down below. It doesn't cost you guys a dime. It really helps out the channel, helps me to keep working on the old deuce here. So until the next time, guys, thanks for watching. Later.